Hello and welcome to CNR Extra. My name is Nanatufu Boating. Coming up. Ghana Police Service challenges aspects of corruption survey report that tagged it as the most corrupt institution in Ghana. Ministry of Education clarifies expenditure involved in free senior high school policy.
Every figure that the Ministry of Education will put out is a figure that we had from Ministry of Finance, because we do not release the money. So under no circumstance would we have control over the figures. And there's the more reason why my minister earlier on gave the 7.62 billion.
Still ahead, management of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology begins providing medical care and counseling to a first-year student who was allegedly raped by a police officer and the final-year student of the school last week, Tuesday. ECG to commence audit of all meters across the country on the 1st of August and warns persons who have tampered with them will be prosecuted.
Anybody, and I repeat, anybody caught stealing power would be charged with the stealing. Would be charged with the offense of stealing, which such offenses come with a hefty punishment by jail term.
All right, before we go for our first story, Philip Nilate joins me in studio. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Anatu.
Good stuff. So we're going to our very first story, and of course in the recent days or recent weeks, we've seen a number of corruption surveys, some perception, some experience, but all seem to suggest that the Ghana Police Service is the most corrupt institution in the country. Well, the police has a response in this clip.
The Ghana Police Service has challenged aspects of a corruption survey report that tagged it as the most corrupt institution in Ghana. A statement signed by the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, questioned portions of the methodology findings, among others.
Well, the police also raised concerns over the failure of the researchers to include recommendations in their work. There's more in this report filed by City News' Anas Seidu.
The Ghana Statistical Service, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice (RAJ), the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime found in a survey last week that the Ghana Police Service was the most corrupt public institution in the country. But the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, whilst admitting pockets of wrongdoing by his personnel, strongly raised questions about the survey. According to the 5-page statement, the IGP, among other things, questioned what he calls the selective ranking methodology to project the outcomes in a manner that focuses on the police service. He further questioned why the researchers failed to add some government institutions such as Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the National Disaster Management Organization (NADMO), Narcotics Control Commission, Attorney General's Department, among others. He added that such findings rather entrench negative perceptions about the service and weakens the morale of his personnel. The IGP also described the research and its findings as heavily challenged and corrupted from both academic and practical point of view. The service further demanded recommendations from the researchers to help the police in ongoing restructuring.
All right, let's get straight into it, but we'd like to hear from you via WhatsApp. The number is 0550585832. Let us know what you think about the police's response to the corruption surveys that tagged them as the most corrupt institution in the country. For me, Philip, the police is the most visible organization, as a state organization or security service in the country. Now, over the years, though, I mean, there is the perception and then there's the reality, but then we know that they've been subject to pervasive stereotyping, have been described as the most corrupt institution over the years. So my question is, does this make them an easy target for organizers of some of these surveys or institutions that carry some of these research report or research findings, does the police an easy target for them?
I think so, because every now and then we see them on our roads, they controlling traffic and stopping at a police checkpoint and so on and so forth. So you get to see the police officer who will say, oh, Charlie, today is a Friday, or what do you have for the boys? Exactly. Or probably they would want to
But you see, in an instance like that, would that be bribing?
That's the question. And they also stand to find fault with, say, your vehicle, maybe your tail light, your documentation. You don't have wheel spanner, you don't have this, you don't have that, so they'll have to. But I don't think that the police would accept this. For me, I knew that the police wouldn't accept this wholly, because certainly when I spoke to a retired police officer and now MP for Wild West, he says that
Peter Lanchini.
Yes, Peter Lanchini. He says that if this is coming out from the various surveys and the reports that are coming out, that indicates that then the entire country is corrupt, because the giver and the taker are both guilty of this action. And we need to accept that everyone is corrupt. Then we can find ways and means to deal with this. Because
but per his analogy, first we should admit.
Yes.
There should be an admission before we can solve the issue.
Exactly, because what the police administration is doing, or what they are being, say, accused of, or whatever the survey says, is that they are engaged in corrupt practices. But who is giving them the money? It's the general public, I guess. If we are driving and you stand at a particular point and you are a traffic offender, or you bypass the, you go through the red light, or your vehicle is not insured, you don't have roadworthy and all that, you would find your way to at least give some funds to the policeman, so that the policeman is going to let you off the hook, or he or she wouldn't take you to the station where it's a thing that you be charged some huge amount of money. So I think that the police should accept this survey, try and work within the service and find out what exactly the problem is and how it can be dealt with. And we, the citizen, we should also take it upon ourselves to also stop engaging them in these things, because there are some citizens who would go to the extent of say, oh, this police officer, at least when we're doing war against indiscipline, I remember very well there was this truck driver who was stopped, and he handed
out his documents.
He placed some $5 in his inside. He had to give it out.
But you see, a careful look at the IGP statement, it gives you an idea of where he is coming from. He's coming from a position of years of being tagged as a corrupt institution, making it easy for institutions to run surveys targeting the police service. And so he's asking for answers to a number of things.
And he was also saying that why didn't they go to the Attorney General's Department, Ghana Ports?
Why were some institutions left out of the survey? And then for those who were put in, why were they disaggregated? Because you would agree with him that really the police service also is made up of various units or various departments. So if you say you take the Ghana Revenue Authority, disaggregate and have the customs and excise preventive SEPs on one hand, before the tax collection unit itself on another hand, and run the survey per this strategy, why take the police on as one whole unit and describe it?
You can't easily see someone in the Attorney General's office, or exactly maybe if you are going there to seek some legal interpretation or something to have to do with law. That is where you go to the Attorney General's Department. And if you want to go to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, unless you are going in for maybe a vehicle that someone has sent to you from abroad, or you are going to clear your goods from the port, that is when you come in contact with these people. But for the police officers, we are meeting them every now and then. And one thing that the statement said is recommendation. I think that with every survey or every report, you certainly need a recommendation. So now this is the problem. What do you recommend? What do we do? Where do we go from here? What are you suggesting? So that at least we know that we are going to find ways and means around this thing to get the police services name out of this particular situation. So I think that what the issue that the IGP is raising is laudable, but the survey institutions, i.e. the Ghana Statistical Service, the Afrobarometer survey that came out, and funny enough, all that comes out of the police
on top. I mean, there's one that the office of the president is challenging the police, but I mean, that's right. But then, I mean, the IGP also found reason to complain or was worried about the fact that the research itself did not make any recommendations going forward. But I mean, he has mentioned that the service itself is winning it or is cleaning, doing its homework to ensure that this bad name is taken off the police service.
Some time the police officers could maybe put a stop to these few coins they've been demanding.
Because even
on the City Breakfast show they were talking, and as of the time they were discussing this issue, someone also texted, right away, someone is even asking me for money.
Wow.
That is the boys. Today is Friday, tomorrow is Saturday, and Sunday. So I think that to clear the image of the police, the police service must accept this report and work around it.
Right. The IGP may have some legitimate points, some legitimate concerns in there, but of course there's work to be done to clear the name of the Ghana Police Service. Let's move into the education sector. We've heard Finance Minister put a figure to the free SHS policy, but the Ministry of Education has been clarifying saying.
The Ministry of Education has clarified that it has spent 7.62 billion cedis on the free senior high school policy since the year 2017, contrary to the 5.3 billion Ghana cedis announced by the Finance Minister.
The Finance Minister, KNUST, while delivering the mid-year budget review this week, stated that the government's major flagship program, the Free SHS, has seen an investment of 5.3 billion Ghana cedis so far.
Now, the Public Relations Officer for the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, has, however, been explaining the issues regarding the policy and its funding in the following report by City News' Ni Ayikwe Okai.
Education think tank Africa Education Watch has raised eyebrows about the inconsistency in the amount spent on the free senior high school policy by the government since its inception. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, while delivering the mid-year budget review this week, stated that the government's major flagship program had seen an investment of 5.3 billion Ghana cedis. This contradicts an assertion by the Education Minister that a total of 7.7 billion Ghana cedis had so far been spent on the policy since 2017. In an interaction with City News, the Public Relations Officer of the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, explained the discrepancies in figures.
That every figure that the Ministry of Education will put out is a figure that we had from Ministry of Finance, because we do not release the money. So under no circumstance would we have control over the figures. And there's the more reason why my minister earlier on gave the 7.62 billion. But of course, I mean, I have also read from the budget statement. I think that was yesterday, right? Which gives a different figure of around 5.3 billion or so. But I mean, I am not the person to speak for the finance minister and explain within the context that he situated it. But of course, if you read the text of that statement, it talks about we have invested an amount of 5.3 billion in free SHS so far as secondary education is concerned. I mean, I am not a finance person, but from the lay in basic finance that we have, we know that investment is obviously different from expenditure, that you can really invest a amount, but at the end of the day, spend even more than that. So I'm sure finance will be able to give us that very details, but I think we shouldn't necessarily run into that conclusion that probably because the figures are unable to reconcile, maybe, raises some cause of alarm or something.
Kwesi Kwarteng announced that an amount of 150 million Ghana cedis had been released to settle part of the 340 million cedis debt owed food suppliers.
As I speak to you, I think an excess of 150 million has been released to suppliers, which has also...
Is that out of that 340?
I'm sure the figure buffer stock can confirm, because they deal directly with them. But I can only confirm that about 150 million has been released to them, which means that it will give them that also, again, that fiscal space to still be able to supply, especially now the banks are coming in. As soon as they supply, the banks can be able to pay them on time, whilst government later reimburses them. And largely, we believe that it solves some of the larger portion of this challenge that we are having. But of course, everything that you have human interface, you may have one or two challenges along the way. you look at the greater good, and when there are challenges, then you quickly resolve it.
As part of long-term measures to deal with food shortage in senior high schools, the ministry also hinted at plans by the government to liaise with some financial institutions who will serve as mediators in ensuring the frequent release of funds to the food suppliers.
The ministry or government now will have to adjust their arrangements with the suppliers, being it the amount that they charge on the food items. But of course, I mean, largely that is the duty of the National Buffer Stock Company. They does those arrangements and what it follows. So that within the long time, we may have some structural adjustment, and then suppliers are paid, and we speed up their, how do you call it? The rate, we speed up the rate of recovery of whatever supplies that they've made. So this time around, we even have the Minister for Education, of course, together with the Ministry of Finance, bringing in some banks who will be that mediator to, as a matter of urgency, pay the suppliers on time, so that later on government reimburses the banks. So we believe that as a long-term measure is going to resolve the challenge or the situation.
How many banks are we talking about?
As at now, I can confirm that of ADB, but I'm sure other banks that comes on board subsequently will communicate to you.
Well, so far, 2 figures have come up. But, I mean, there's some level of consistency with respect to the 2 figures. Because during the meeting, the review itself, he did mention page 33, paragraph 60, the finance minister mentioned the 5.3 billion in there. Okay. But then, if you take the statement itself, the mid-year budget review statement itself, page 49, paragraph 284, you find the 7.62 billion there. So now we are not sure why 2 different figures are being thrown at us.
And now the Education Ministry came out somewhere 2021 that an amount of 7.62 billion Ghana cedis has been spent. And if you look at the differences, somewhere 2.32 billion Ghana cedis. And that is a question we're asking now. With this, I think I side with the Member of Parliament for Busa South, and he's the Deputy Ranking Member on Education in Parliament. He is saying that he's calling for a forensic audit to be done, so that at least we will know what the money has been used for. Because if one party, that is the Finance Ministry, is stating 5.3 billion, though there will be consistency in there, but it looks like there are 2 figures. And from what we listen from on the clip, or we watched Kwesi Kwarteng, he is saying that every figure they get is from the finance ministry. Yes. So if the finance ministry in the budget has indicated that it is 5.3 billion, then there is a question to be answered.
Well, he sought to play on words. I mean, striking a difference between investment and actual spending.
Exactly.
But, I mean,
so something has to be answered. Where has that 2.3 billion gone to? And that is what Clement Apak is also saying, that means there has been overspending somewhere, or some monies have been used somewhere, and we are not able to really factor what exactly has gone in there. So I think that the forensic audit has to be done, and I think it should be done by an independent body, so that we would exactly know what really has gone into it and what the funds have been used for. Because VSHS, to be frank with you, a lot of money is going into it.
Clearly, and it's actually having a toll on government expenditure and all that. But you see, some 1.261 million students are supposed to have benefited from the program since inception in 2017. But if we are having a disparity between figures, how much has been spent or invested in the program so far, can we marry this with the outputs? Are we getting quality out of it? Are we just throwing in students and throwing money at them, and it's just quantity over quality? Are we just pushing students because we want to fulfill somebody's manifesto's promise?
And the players in the industry, Education Watch, Parliamentary Select Committee on Education, other stakeholders who are also into the education sector are calling for the revision of this particular policy. Because, and even the time the policy started, if my memory serves me right, the president of Ashesi University, Dr. Patrick Ewa, he said that this is not done like that wholesale. You have to revise it. If people who can pay this amount of money wants to pay, they should pay. I think I also recall that the finance minister also made mention of that if at least you can afford and you can pay.
I think he actually said that here on the point of view.
Yes,
with
if you can pay at least. Well, I don't think I would take a child or my child to a school that will be paying dollars, and now when I get to the senior high school, I will not be able to pay in cedars. Certainly, I should be able to pay. So with the amount of money that is coming, some 7.6 billion.
Yeah.
That's a huge amount of money.
Exactly.
And looking at the difference, that 5.3 billion Ghana cedis and the difference being 2.3 billion Ghana cedis, that's quite huge. And I think that we should find out where the monies have gone to, and if this discrepancies or inconsistency has to be dealt with, so that at least we would have clear minds as to what the policy, the funds that have been used in the policy and the outcome, like you indicated, whether we are getting the quality and there is value for money. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, we're getting value for money or not. I mean, regardless of the figure that has been put out there, we're still having to deal with challenges of feeding the students themselves. We have challenges of infrastructure, and of course the teachers also have their challenges all together, and really a cause for concern. So if we're having all this and there's no clarity on the actual money spent, then really you would agree with Clement Park when he says that there should be a forensic audit into the figures in there. Let's still stay, or let's take you to the Ashanti region, where some rather unfortunate news is coming in from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
And the management of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology says it is providing medical care and counseling services to one of its first-year students who was allegedly raped by a police officer and a final-year student of the school last week, Tuesday.
Now, KNUST authorities say, according to the 21-year-old victim, the final-year student lured her to his hostel at Bomso and told her he wanted to give her female clothes to sell so that they can share the profits afterwards. Upon entering his room, he allegedly locked the door and raped her, and then called in a police officer who also took his turn in raping her.
Now, together with the KNUST security and the police, the student and the police officer was arrested. City News understands the docket has been forwarded to the Office of the Attorney General for advice.
I'm not sure how to deal with this, because it does not make sense at any level. No matter how I want to think of it, it does not make sense that a student lures another student into his room, rapes her, and then invites a police officer to join him.
To adapt.
Like,
I think that this, you see, the person goes into trauma. The person who has been
the victim here.
The victim. And I think that if an investigation has to be done, it should be done. And even if these people must be, I don't know what the law is going to do with them, but I think I'm speechless on this. I don't exactly know what to say about this, because this is not. You are saying that you are luring the person into the room, or you are giving the person some clothing to sell so that you could share the profit or whatever you realize out of the sales. And now you've
No, but you see, Philip, this is where I always have a problem with leadership. I mean, an issue like this will be here and investigations will take forever. This should be swift. We understand the students, the final year students, the guy has been arrested, the police officer himself has been arrested upon information given them by the student. I mean, swift investigations. Deal with the person according to the law. Let it serve as a deterrent. We do not know what relationship there exists between the guy, the final year student, and this police officer, whether they are friends, they are relatives or not. But regardless of how they know each other, for them to be able to plot, hatch such a plan, and carry it out, they do not deserve to be living with us in society. Because these are two dangerous individuals.
At all, because, and if this has been, the docket has been brought to the Attorney General's department or his office, I think this should be acted upon ASAP as soon as possible, so that whatever comes out of it, the suspect, let me put it that way, will be dealt with immediately, and the victim in this case must be given thorough counseling, taken through a number of processes, so that she will not have this in her mind. It's not going to take a toll on her, because
well, clearly she's going to live with this forever. It's just for the counselors to help mitigate the impact, to help her deal with the trauma and all that. But clearly, you can't wipe such a memory. I mean, it's going to live with her forever. And this is how we go about destroying people's lives and I don't know.
And I think that this should serve as a caution to some students in the school authority must be up and doing on this, so that the individuals who are also harboring thoughts like this should just stop it, because
it's the punishments that will deter others. But if investigations and prosecutions are going to take forever, I mean, people will still be empowered to go ahead and engage in some of these activities. So really, it is up to the police and of course the prosecution to be fast, expedite the investigations, go ahead and do the prosecution. Let's punish these offenders to serve as a deterrent to some persons who may be harboring similar thoughts, so they can stay off it, and then we don't have to be reporting on such issues and discussing them at all. But let us know what you think. The WhatsApp number is 0550585832. Stay with us on CNR Extra, still ahead. Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, to commence audit of all meters across the country on the 1st of August, and warns persons who have tampered with them will be prosecuted. We'll bring you that shortly. Do stay. Welcome back. This is CNR Extra on City TV. You can join in the conversation via the WhatsApp number 055-058-5832. That's 055-058-5832. Let us know what you think. But the ECG seems to be bearing its teeth at people that steal power from the company. In this report, you hear from the Managing Director of the Electricity Company of Ghana.
Now, electricity consumers across the country must brace themselves in the coming weeks for ECG's intended meter audit operations that begins on August 1st.
The managing director of the company, Samuel Mahama, noted that the company will deploy a team of task force to visit homes and audit all meters and ensure all faulty, tampered meters and illegal connections are fished out of the system. There is more in this report.
After the expiration of the moratorium issued by the Electricity Company of Ghana to allow for customers to report their faulty meters for fixing, the company has declared war on all unrepentant customers who fail to make use of the opportunity. According to the Managing Director, Samuel Dubik Mahama, anyone caught during the meter audit process will be prosecuted by the Utilities Court for stealing power.
We need to know how much power we have put in a certain area, and we need to know how much power or how much revenue we are getting from that area. It must correspond. So if my distribution transformer is reading a certain amount, and after adding all the homes, the power consumed on all the homes on that distribution transformer, it is not adding up, guess what? I would visit each and every home to ascertain who is stealing the power from me. I also want us to know one thing. It is stealing to take power without paying, and the charge of stealing will lie. The police CID has equipped us with enough officers for the team that would be going out as of next week, 1st August. The power court is also ready, because you are going to be charged I said the power court, but they call it the utilities court. It is also ready and will be functioning as of next week. Anybody, and I repeat, anybody caught stealing power would be charged with the stealing, would be charged with the offense of stealing, which such offenses come with a hefty punishment by jail term. Truth of the matter is we want to make examples. I know people's first inclination would be, this exercise is not sustainable. This exercise is not sustainable. But all I will say to them is, watch. Watch this space very well because it is very sustainable.
He stated that over 100,000 customers took advantage of the moratorium and reported their cases. Out of the reported cases, the MD mentioned that thousands of faulty meters were reported and will soon be fixed or replaced by the company. According to him, the task force has been clothed with the power and discretion to enter into homes that are locked with deliberate efforts by consumers to deny the team access to access the meters.
Mine has to do with visibility. I need to see my meter. That's the difference. The meter doesn't belong to you. I need to see my meter. I need to check the health of my meter. I need to know what my meter is telling me. So my issue is, it's simple. I am coming to check the health of my meter. You have to allow me to check the health of my meter. As to what you are doing, that is not what I am looking for. But when I get to my meter and my meter tells me what you are doing, then you and I will have a problem. What most people don't realize is that the meter takes average readings. So when you bypass the meter still thinks in a certain way and still has information loaded in it. All those who have bypassed my meters, who have tampered with the meters, believe you me, you will be found because the meter audit in the area would lead to check of meters, how it's reading, and what the distribution transformer meter is also saying. Please, at this point in time, I want to say it categorically. If we come to your home and you do not give us an opportunity to see our meter that belongs to us, we will try once, we will try twice. But my people are well equipped to use their own discretion to disconnect. And when I say disconnect, I don't mean disconnect at the meter. I am taking the service cable away.
On recent happenings in the Krobo enclave and its adjoining communities, the managing director said residents have consumed electricity to the tune of 168 million Ghana cedis for a period of 8 years without payment. According to the managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, their decision not to pay bills can't continue to overburden the company and the rest of the population.
We wanted the people of Krobo to be responsible and pay their. If you want to talk about figures, the Krobo bill is 168 million Ghana cedis. I cannot pay for that. The other people of Ghana cannot pay for that. Every single person consuming power in Ghana now is carrying what is happening in Krobo. Why? If it is not your intention not to pay for electricity bill, why are you resisting a prepaid meter? The only reason why somebody will resist a prepaid meter is because what? They don't want to pay. I have a prepaid meter in my home. I pay. I believe most of you here have prepaid meters. So if you say it's a national issue, for me, no, I don't see it as a national issue.
The MD, per his posture, his demeanor and everything, appears to be very bold.
Yes.
And appears to be very determined to
Ready
carry
for
out
action.
this meter auditing exercise.
And I think I applaud the Electricity Company of Ghana to take this exercise on, because if per the revenue collection or the revenue generation, they have indicated that they lose a lot of funds or money from illegal connection, bypassing the meter and all that. And recently they went to some organizations that they got the impression, or they caught them for bypassing the meter, and those people were surcharged, and some had to pay fines and all that, and the monies that if not paid in the past. So I think this is a step in the right direction for the Electricity Company of Ghana to recoup all their funds, because power generation is very expensive, and if you are bypassing the meter, you are not paying what you are expected to pay.
It's actually not fair to be
Exactly.
stealing power when others are paying for same.
Yes. So
it's actually not fair.
I think that is something which is right for the electricity company of Ghana to do. But I think they have a bigger work to do, because visiting quite a number of places to monitor their meters will be some huge.
It'll be difficult.
task,
I mean, there will be
yes.
challenges.
And
I mean,
they were running this ad that they helped people that if you see that a neighbor or you know someone who is engaged in illegal
report the
connection,
person
report
for some
6% of whatever the person will pay for and all that. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and we must all support this move.
I mean, there was a 1-month moratorium for persons who had problems, also faulty meters, persons who were consuming power but their meters were not reading and all that. I mean, there was a moratorium for that. But then what I am more interested in, or what excites me the most, is the fact that you remember there was a task force that was put together within the same 1 month that went after institutions, especially state institutions that owed money to the ECG. Well, at same press conference, the MD, Mr. Dubek Mahama, mentioned that really all these institutions had settled their debts.
Yes.
I mean, the Parliament was in there, the Accra Sports Stadium was in there, some public universities were in there. He has said that these institutions have settled their debts. Well, we do not know if they have settled entirely
all the
total
debts,
or partially, but at least if some monies have been paid, then really goes a long way to help the ECG in its operations as well.
to generate some funds for
Exactly,
themselves. So I think that, and he sounds very confident that this action is going to be sustainable, and that is all we are hoping for, sustainability, that you don't start something and end in the middle of the journey, because certainly if you end in the middle of the journey, the people who were engaged in will go back again, because you may want to take the service line off, tapping into their various homes, and if you don't go there to check again, the people will go and do it again. And this comes to monitoring, because you have to monitor whatever action you've undertaken. If you go to a slum community to check their various meters and ensure that they are supposed to do what is right, and maybe you remove their meters and you leave and they are supposed to pay some amount of money, and you don't monitor what exactly they are supposed to be doing, some, for the lack of a better word, recalcitrant people will go in and do same again. So I think that the sustainability is key. It shouldn't be a 9-day wonder. And if this is what the electricity company of Ghana wants to do, we are all out for that, and we applaud them for this.
Well, he says anybody caught in the act will be charged with stealing and either made to pay a fine.
But then again, they should look amongst themselves. This is very important. There are some employees, or there are some people allegedly that some of them also go in to do these connections for people, because I don't think that someone will wake up and do an illegal connection if the person doesn't know the technical know-how. So they should also check amongst themselves. If they are looking at what is being done outside, then they should also do some sort of checking in-house to see which people are doing these things and see what actions they will take against these people. So we are applauding them for this, and we think it's a right thing for them to do.
All right. Oh, I hope he carries it. Maybe he needs Henry Cote in his camp. Anyway, send us your thoughts, your contributions, your comments via the WhatsApp number 0550585832. But still to come. Work on Boankra Inland Port project set to commence in August 2022. We'll bring you the details shortly. Don't go away.
Plus is a fully skimmed evaporated milk. Creamy Plus is available in a shop near you.
This message has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
My name is Akrobato. People call me Who Knows Tomorrow. I don't want to hide the good things from the good people of Ghana. Let me tell you about watching your favorite kid show, movies, telenovelas, sports, news, etc. and etc. in crystal clear, high definition picture.
This year, we know come to play. Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy, Mr. Drew, and I'm going to show you how to pause and rewind live TV, and also program your HD Plus decoder to record shows when you're not home.
Middle car. HD Plus, it came. Shall you bring your phone, make a download my HD Plus app on it for you, so you can watch TV on your phone with free data every month.
Welcome back. You're watching CNR Extra on City TV. My name is Nanatufu Obuate, and I'm here with Philip Ni-Late. We're bringing you some of the stories that made it into a major news bulletin, CNR. Let's take you to the Ashanti region, where there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel for residents of the Boankra area.
Still stay with road infrastructure, and after being abandoned for about 2 decades, the government says work is set to commence on the Boankra Inland Port project by August this year. The municipal chief executive for Ejisu, Samodro Frimpong, who disclosed this to City News, says the project will be completed within 2 years. There's more on this report filed by City News' bureau chief for the Middle Belt, Edward Opong-Mafo.
Residents of Boankra in the early 2000s gave out their lands to the government to allow for the Boankra Inland Port project. But the expectations of the residents are yet to be met. Several petitions to relevant authorities, press conferences, and threats to embark on demonstrations over the years have not yielded the desired results. Following recent calls by the residents in a City News interview where they threatened to embark on a massive demonstration if work does not commence on the project as early as possible, government has assured that work is set to begin on the project. The municipal chief executive for Ejisu, Samodro Frimpong, tells City News the contractor has already started mobilizing and is moving to site.
I want to allay the fears of everybody, especially the indigenes of Boankra and Hwereso, that this one is a real something that we are going to do. Yes, 2 years ago, the president, His Excellency, and then Otumfo, they cut the sword. Understand it was going to be done by a Korean company, but maybe they had difficulty with their financial issues. So this one has been given to a local contractor, and I'm sure once you go there, you see a sign. By on the 8th, they'll be starting, and there'll be no turning back.
For the traditional leaders in Boankra, after several failed promises, they remain skeptical about government's intentions of working on the project. The Kontihin of Boankra, Nana Kufi Akosa Dumata, says the traditional authorities fear working on the project is only for political gains, as it may not be completed before the 2024 elections.
Papa, say me who see sisi no man na me nyini because abana ba begina so oba enso sebe okofa nyina santime wura e de ne ba ho papa ne ba otina se din wankasa na time so ya osoro ya ode koye on wakofa santime nyina wura de na ba betina ho ahye bwakase data of the contractors nyina ba contractors be 3 and ode ombegu ho a omo be yesi adwuma no na wakọ since 2 years ni wasan akọ abasa afedie afe na ode nipa begu ababa ye adwuma no obi kan say yi kwaku osemisuma ni mani gisa mia mehu se bibipe ekoso ansana magiyedi.
The issue of compensation is a topic which inhabitants who gave out their lands to allow for the project say has not been critically looked at. The container for the area says, as the government is about starting the project, those who surrendered their lands should be well compensated.
For 21 years, there's no compensation. Mutu efudie na ewoso no mo de sika koto tun for mo friends escrow account as wine mo release sika no sa de ma na na boaje age a wanya ne ba bi ko a sika o se ba ye be chema akuafo no asasefo no ubisa o mo ansase ubisa se wine na enya bi se na omunya ye enti no eyade a ha adwene enti omu ne ye kan sabe omu ne ye kan no ma bi a sabe be ma Boankra man so sabe impreduasa yen so yakoma aba fom wo no ma bi ho.
Some other residents have been speaking to City News on the project.
Yensa so beje omu ne ye dia no no e Ghana Shepherds Council no dia ne ye dia no no omu ne ye sika kakra kusika bia enswa sabe kakra bi no beje dem na ye betimi de atodua na dinese betimi na kopa sase ne bia je say 21 years ni ye nya ahwe mfim te se nyame aye wadum ne nyame abie kwa na ba be adwuma na asona be din kotodwe po na ado ye din kotodwe srew bebre ese bomodian na kakra na de ma obia enim kra no ye beda wasi.
Now project na eba no wani age se
age papa se ye nkola e benya bia ye me kura meti we mi yare na so kameti mi di nsu asitazim kura kwa hakoton na de bia manyam daily blood na se ni ho a ehe na wo fa woni kunu ni mpra enti ya srem se mo momodian na mo mabia ma ye se mo se mo be ye dia mo nyina so na ni kire ya me hu sade no mo ye nyasa mo bagia to ho makon masaba no ya mo bagi a chapa fikitwa.
Mr. from Pond is assuring that the project will be completed in 2 years' time. He says it will help open up the area and will create job opportunities for the inhabitants.
According to Mr. Isaac Afum, the CEO of the company that have been awarded the contract, he is going to use about 4 different contractors. Just more is just one. And he's been given 2 years to complete. So what it means is that it to be completed before the next election. So I can assure you that, yes, when we met them 2 weeks ago, that was my first appeal, that all the labor work, 90% should come from the locality. Again, the honorable member for the area, they've asked him to get them accommodation. So, you know, they can only get accommodation from the area. So they will benefit a lot from the project.
Is this something you feel will help develop this area?
Yes, of course. That is why it is dear to the heart of everybody. A lot of our youth will get a lot of employment to do, and it's going to open up Ejuso. So Ejuso is going to be the tema of Ashanti region.
He has also been speaking to City News on the matter concerning payment of compensation to the landowners.
I've been told by my assembly member there that most people were compensated. But if others are still complaining, what we need to do is to get in touch with the Omaihene Nana Afrani Okese, the 4th. I'm sure he will be in a better position to know whether the people were compensated for their lands or not.
And so once that you find out that that's the case, you will make sure they are paid.
Yes. So once I find out that, yes, indeed, some of them have not been compensated, and I talk to him, and then he shows me the way, then we'll be able to talk to the people as to what we have to do.
The Boankra Inland Port Project is expected to bring about a lot of development within this area. And as a result, the residents and other stakeholders within this area are urging authorities to do whatever they can to ensure this project becomes a success. They also want issues concerning their compensations to be addressed. For City News, I'm Edward Upon Marful, Boankra.
Well, Philip, before we even talk about the Boankra Inland project, let's read some messages that have come in. This one says, yes, indeed, most Ghanaians think giving and receiving bribes has become one of our cultures. Having admitted that, the IGP's answer and posture in his response is untenable. By citing the absence of other state institutions connotes his admission that the police is very corrupt. It looks like the IGP is quite emotional in his defense of the police service. Being bereft of it is a serious defect in a person in such a high office. This is Bafo from Spintex. Walanyo in Akwetia says, I deeply disagree with the Afrobarometer report on corruption perception because he that alleges must also prove. What's the evidence that they have to go ahead to pollute the minds of Ghanaians? That's Walanyo in Akwetia. Yora you see from Damango says IGP should not sit in his office and defend his boys, knowing very well they are the officials who get close contact with civilians day in, day out. He should even use the KNUST rape case as an example. How possible will it be for an officer of the law to be invited over to join in a crime, i.e., rape? It's a lesson for him to set his strong team to move around and make sure his boys, that's the police, do the right thing. Yora Yusuf from Damango. So those were some of your messages. You can also join in with the number 0550-585832. But work on the Boankra Inland Port project finally set to commence after some 20 years of being abandoned. Now this is important because if you look at the position in Ghana, we are bordered by some landlocked countries. So if we're putting this in the Ashanti region, the Adreso area, really it lessens the transportation cost from the Tema Harbour or the Takrade Harbour to these neighboring countries. That is goods that are in transit to some of these countries. Also, we can look at the economic potentials for the people of the Adreso area and its surroundings, and of course the Ashanti region as a whole.
Important. And I would touch on the fact that if it's set to commence, it should commence. It should start. We shouldn't just have it that it's set to commence or it's going to commence soon and all that, because this has stayed there for in the early 20s when the residents of the area gave out the land that, okay, fine, you can use it for this particular project. But it's been like that for quite some time now, and almost, if not 20 years, then why are we relaxed and not doing the projects for which we got the land for? So if it's going to be started or is going to be done as soon as possible, it should start. And like the MCA also stated that the contractors are about to begin, but we wouldn't want. I don't want to use the word "about to begin" or "it's going to start." It should start.
It should start.
Yes,
but even more important now that we are under the AFCFTA, and of course there's the need to facilitate transportation of goods and services to and fro African countries. It's really important.
And
now
what,
we know that
what will also help is the development of the area, because we know places in areas that have mineral resources, or we are tapping this from these particular areas, but the places aren't really developed. And like we indicated the last time we spoke about this same Boankra story, that the youth will move from areas like those places and come to the city in search of greener pastures.
Now they will have reason to stay, because I mean, if there's a port in your area, I mean, aside freight forwarding, you need GAPOA security, port security, you need loading boys, you need Murphy drivers,
and even the person who's talking around the place.
You need tally clerks. I mean, we heard from the clip a woman saying that she could even go there to sell water to make money. So really, it is important, and it will do us a lot of good to really commence and complete that project. Remember that there will be the construction of the Inland Port project itself, and then of course there will be the construction and rehabilitation of the Eastern Railway line from Tema Port, and of course from Tema Port to Boankra, and of course to the other countries. So really, it is important
for the area. His name is Samuel Drew Frimpong. He's saying that this is going to be done in the space of 2 years. We are pleading, if it's going to be done in the space of 2 years, it should be so that it's not going to be like 2 years from now. When we
don't want to hear revised timelines.
We go there to report again. The entire project hasn't commenced and anything. So please,
on
behalf of people of Boankra that at least this should start, so that we can all just get some job to do in that particular community.
All right, thank you very much, Philip Nilate from the City Newsroom. Many thanks to you for joining us on the show. My name is Nana Tufo Boate. Many thanks to you for watching. We'll see you again.